impactful performances of poetry I've ever seen of the Elote Lady. And if you have ever seen Josiah perform the Elote Lady, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Josiah is more than a poet, though. Josiah is a cultivator of community. Josiah is someone who helps to keep this portal open, not just for us poets running on Poet Time, but for the entire community of the mission, along with Tan. And I just have to say, if you're here and you're able, please buy some books. Let's buy some fucking books for Medicine for Nightmares if you have the chance. I'm gonna buy some books. I don't need more books. Roque, you've seen my house, I have too many books. But
you are a book.
I am a book, unfortunately. But I'm really excited to have Josiah open the space, open the reading tonight, open the portal in this way. And without further ado, we have Josiah Luis Alderete, everyone.
I'm sorry. I usually laugh at people when they're in the bathroom. Laura just going to the bathroom and she's bringing Agnes in, and Agnes didn't want to go, and she's all, you're introduced. It was funny. I'm sorry. When Laura comes out, don't nobody tell her that I told you that. She was I need a moment. This is very special for me because Roque and Tatiana and Angelito have all altered my reality in some way or another. And seeing them, I'll never forget seeing them all at this amazing poetry event that some crazy Betehao was involved with organizing, I think in some way, but I don't remember that. But I saw it, the three of you, man, like that was one of the moments for me, so it means a lot to be able to be here with you. Yeah, for real. Yeah, I guess I'm just explaining myself tonight. I guess the Bendejo explains himself tonight. All right, if I'm explaining myself, I'll say, for the longest time, Lou Diamond Phillips was my favorite Mexican.
Oh my God.
I mean, not because of La Bamba, because of Young Guns. He played a Mexican, Indian, Mexican. You remember that shit?
Yes, I do.
He was so prolific. He took peyote. I mean, if I'm explaining myself, my Sunday mole is Doña Maria, some Skippy peanut butter, and some hot water mixed with it. And if I'm explaining myself, I first heard of Frida Kahlo because of Madonna. If I'm explaining myself, my hijoles didn't come from my abuelo's side of the family. It came from watching an episode of Breaking Bad when Walter White goes, híjole! I mean, if I'm explaining myself, I should say that all of my spiritual aspirations over the years have been cock-blocked by 80s pop references. Yes, 80s pop references have cocks. Te lo juro, familia. Te lo juro. I was planning on reading all of the Mexica holy codices. I ended up just watching a Netflix documentary about it instead. The documentary was narrated by Tenoch Huerta, but the subtitles made him sound like Morgan Freeman, and bilinguistically speaking, that was very confusing for me. Anyways, the pinche documentary was too long. It was like 13 episodes. I think I fell asleep halfway through the second one, and I started having dreams of episodes of Seinfeld in Spanish. Woke up in the middle of the night, panza rumbling, went into the cocina, pulled out the peach pie that was in there and started eating it in Nahuatl, which is strange, man, because the only time I ever eat anything in Nahuatl is when I'm chewing on it in my dreams. And I know this isn't a dream. I know this isn't a dream. I know this isn't a dream because I haven't seen anything that you might call sagrado around here for a while now. And I don't know whose fault that is. I mean, we could just play it safe and blame the divine for never showing up on time. But if I do that, I don't want you to think that I don't still have faith. I don't want you to think that I don't still believe. I don't want you to think that I don't still cry over this, all of this, every single morning, man. But my lágrimas are always ignored by the gato negro in the room. That pinche gato negro that's been here dying for the past 2 years now. He's still here. Because every single day, the colibris come by and shoot vermilion and energia at him through the blood-stained windows, man. And when I put it like that right there, that is as sagrado as hell, man. So what am I asking for? What am I asking for? I suppose I'm asking to remember most of what I forgot before I was here. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Saturday morning cartoons of our cosmology. The whispering 3 a.m. platicas by the bigotes and the elotes and your abuelita's plastic-covered kitchen table. The cuentos. The cuentos told by homemade blue tattoos on the arms of tios that you'll never meet now are remembering these things. Going to help me recognize those strange figuras that appear in the condensation on the liquor store refrigerator doors. Are remembering these things. Going to explain to me why there's a pinche fortune cookie in my pupusa with no fortune in it. Quien sabe? But I would sleep better at night if I knew that the energías that held mis manos y mis huesos before I was here could see the candelas I like for them. You can taste the pan y cafecito I leave on the ofrenda for them. Last night, after I closed the bookstore, this drunk crowd spilled out of the filthy corner bar over here on the corner. They came out to watch the one-eyed man stand in the middle of 24th Street and pluck out his one eye. Afterwards, one of the drunk onlookers took the eyeball, wrapped it in a cocktail napkin, and then apparently took the eyeball to the once one-eyed, now no-eyed man's ex, along with a note that the once one-eyed, now no-eyed man wrote on the bar right before he did the deed. The note that he wrote said, "Pendeja, now I really can't see you again." This is not a love poem.
No.
I have not caressed an esqueleto or fallen into obsidian ojos for a really long time now. I'm not complaining, mind you. I'm just telling it like it is. I gave you that Cuervo's wing for no other reason than to get it out of the bookstore before the big teeth, hormigas ate it, so don't trip, man. This world already exploded. Left us here, waiting for a prophecy to pay its bar tab. Waiting on a corner at Calle 24 for a ride that may or may never arrive. Y mi amor, while we're waiting for that ride that may or may never arrive, I know someone in the neighborhood that can change that Marilyn Monroe tattoo you got on your arm into a pretty good Walter Mercado for like $100. No te enojes. No te enojes. All this already happened. They wrote canciones about it years ago. That's what the lágrimas are for. That's why the cicatrices are smiling. Like I said, they wrote canciones about it years ago and buried them in roadside bar jukeboxes and in the shoeboxes way in the back of the closet. I always carry around in my pocket a sweet tactile memoria of how all the little pelitos on your body would dewdrop with sweat whenever my cock entered you. But I can't think about that now. Because right now, there's a pinche gold man getting ready to sail his pinche gold yacht right up into el cielo. He's unfurling the sails right now, right next to the under the freeway pueblo that's scheduled to burn down tonight, right on North American time. And the amantes are here. The lovers are here, of course, holding hands and smiling, watching it all. Just like this. Don't know rituals, just like this. Don't know lifetimes, just like this. Don't know memoria so sweet it's gonna hurt to think about them later. They're standing there, holding hands and smiling. Watching that pinche gold man sail his pinche gold yacht up into el cielo and block out our view of the sun and moon and stars, while all around him down here, that under the freeway pueblo burns. Cardboard casas gone. Newspaper sueños gone. Driftwood familias gone, because this is not a love poem. Caracol. Estuvimos comiendo ice cream y nubes alrededor de la pinche muda. Rojos de sangre, man. Arcoíris de chingazos, man. Ninguno de los pinche poetas trajeron electricidad. Así es que le pedimos al mar un micrófono. Y los echamos el insuchil, inscuicat, así pues. Estuvo tan chingón que después el coyote cruzó al revés. Y cuando pasamos el campo santo de las piedras, los cuervos aparecieron en el cielo, emplumados en twilight, as we made our way back to el otro lado, from el otro lado.
One more time for Josiah and Luisa Alderete. Next up, we have another mission spirit, as they were. The great Tatiana Lubouiski at Costa. If you've ever seen them do their thing, they may have been holding a wooden AK-47. They may have been smashing something with blood. They may have been on a ladder tossing eggs onto a hardwood floor and getting banned from AWP. Tatiana Lubouiski at Costa's work exceeds the page quite simply. exceeds genre, of course. And from The Easy Body, their first book with Timeless Infinite Light, to La Movida, out just last year with Nightboat Books, their work is ink on fire. And you'll know exactly what I mean when you hear them read from their works. Do we have any copies of any of those books here tonight? Can we buy copies of books?
We have Roque's.
We have Roque's book tonight, so if you like Tato's work, if you like Josiah's work, if you like my work, buy Roque's book.
We have your book. We have your book, but we won't sell
But
it.
I love these. Pretty sure that's not.
But I am so excited to have Tato come up here and read and do their thing. I've been on tour with Tato, had long conversations at early hours of the morning while they were completely asleep in the passenger side, and then claiming to not be asleep. From Massachusetts to Philadelphia, where we met Roque for the first time, actually. So, full circle moment.
Yeah.
And with that, let's get you up here. Tatiana, Lubouiski, Acosta, everybody.
Okay, to be fair, I can fall asleep anywhere. So, but I do remember that conversation, even though I was asleep. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. This is really incredible. When I walked in this afternoon or this evening, okay. All right. So I didn't know that this reading was going to happen because until this morning I had COVID, and then I took the test and I put the little, pedazo de papel of the tube, and I just stared at that test and I was like, I swear to God, if I can't come to this reading, you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna fucking do. Even though it's like a piece of paper in a tube, like what's gonna happen to it? And then I was negative. So I'm here and I'm very happy to be here. And as I was getting ready for the reading this evening, I was looking through my book, my last book, La Movida, which came out like a year and a half ago, and found myself thinking like, oh my God, like my life is so completely different from when I was writing this book, from when this book came out, from even just several months ago. My life is completely transformed. And I was listening to Lola Beltran, and I was like curling my hair, and then I just threw my book up into the air, and then I went like that. And now it's in the middle of the kitchen, slate open. So I'm not going to be reading from it tonight. But I also wanted to mention something because we were talking about the evil eye a little earlier. So something I've been doing a lot lately has been cutting paper. Right? So can anyone tell me what this is? It's a hamsa, yeah. Right. So this is cut paper, the mate paper. Does anyone know what a mate paper is?
They made the codices on.
They made the codices on it, yes. And also, Nawa shamans, still to this day, cut shapes out of this paper, right? And what they do is they either cast spells or they do blessings with it. But the paper is meant, when it's cut, into like its perspective blessing or spell or whatever, curse even. It's meant to be folded and it's meant to be held and it's meant to be hidden. So it's something that is like meant to be not shown. And it's believed that this practice actually started during the conquest, when images and language, structures of devotion and culture were being destroyed. And the same thing that destroyed these things, right, the Spanish conquest, was the Inquisition. And the Inquisition was something that had been going on for, at this point, like 150 years, and had started in Spain and eventually spread to Portugal, and was used to expel Jews and Muslims from what's like now known as So this kind of paper cutting also was something that started allegedly in now so-called Spain in the 1350s by a Spanish rabbi, by a Sephardic rabbi, and then spread all over. And it was around the same time that this symbol was being used by Sephardic Jews when they were welcomed to the Ottoman Empire. So I am descended from both makers of this paper and people who would cut this shape into this paper. So that being said, I'm going to read you some poems. How's everybody? Yeah. This is called Follow the Corn. 8,500 years before the Common Era, the domestication of plants took root acá para allá y para allí. There is no such thing as wild corn. It can't exist without intensive human care. Did you know that it was from the collapse of the Maya Empire due to an increase in exploitative forced labor practices that this tendency my mother rejects in theory, but in her heart practices emerged? She will tell you otherwise, but I will tell you this. There is no such thing as a wild heart, or a broken one for that matter, in the natural world. You are here because of a coalition of sisters provided a complete protein, the daily blessing of rivers and lakes and other running waters, and because a generation of what we now call lloronas and legistradas said no. Between you and me, amor de mis amores, entre estos caminos de maíz, turquesa y anarquía, we fall into the category of local women, the innovators of emergent technologies that do not exist in the natural world, except that you and me, we are of it. Amor de mis amores, we are descended from eaters of pond scum, from people who calculated the passage of time and knew everything that had happened was happening and will happen, who used nothing as a placeholder between negative and positive. Did I freak you guys out?
No.
Jeez, okay. Everyone's like, I was like eating hot Cheetos like 5 minutes ago. Like, you cannot take me seriously. So, this is a poem I wrote earlier in the year, and it really seems to have resonated with a lot of people. And I want to say this is a real place. This poem is about a real place, but this place is not a place that you want to go to ever. But it's a place that I think a lot of us have been to. And it's called Roque Mountain.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Remember you called me?
Yes.
And you told me.
I call you from a payphone.
You called me from a payphone in Roque Mountain.
Yes.
Because they still got payphones in Roque Mountain.
You need them.
You need them. And you can only call collect. So when you get that call and it says like, will you accept this call from Roque Mountain? You better accept
You
it.
always say yes.
You always say yes. You always say yes. And it's like the bill will show up. Because who gets a phone bill these days, right? Yeah. And it'll be like the most random like assortment of objects that you have to pay on your phone bill when you get that collect call phone bill from Roque Mountain. Have y'all ever been to Roque Mountain? You know, I thought I had before all this, but it turns out I was just wandering sick and lost like a disrespected and displaced trickster in the Roque foothills. You know, over by the freeway where you could get swallowed by the Cascada Californica or find a beaten piñata in the form of the Mission San Gabriel filled with condoms and copies of the Single Momunist Manifesto. Anyway, there I was, lunar and in denial, and up on Roque Mountain, where the air was a little too clear. Up on Roque Mountain, they got a mirror, and in that mirror, I saw that I'm actually a double Virgo. Oh, we gotta talk about that from Yeah, no, it's worse than that. It's peor que. You gotta talk. Because remember you did my chart in Philadelphia and then you were the one who broke it to me? It's the whole thing, okay. I was on Loca Mountain when I found that out. Okay, so I saw my homegirls, and as always, they look good. They look good as hell, in fact. One thing Loca Mountain ain't is hell. Loca Mountain is where that 19-year-old girl who lives inside of me, demanding all of the sorrow and vengeance of the world, etc., 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 and will never ever do her homework, and I must continue to nourish her, or else she will eat my guts with a pleasure only known to girls who mistakenly deny themselves any kind of sensuality in order to achieve them. But anyway, she's up there on Loca Mountain. Are hearts guts? Serious question. I like how you're acting like you've never heard of Loca Mountain. Oh, honey. Babe. Baby pies. Cookie. Cariño. Querida. Amor de mi alma. Corazón de melón. Hija de tu madre. Don't you know? Up on Loca Mountain, up there, closer to the moon, closer to the headwaters that brought you tumbling involuntarily into this world of Coca-Cola and lead paint, is the loquita inside of you, teeth gnashing, in love with you. I'm gonna read one more, okay? And then we can, here. Angel. So wait, who are you gonna introduce yourself?
Yeah. No. Whatever you want.
Why me? Why do
You
I
have the mic.
Okay.
You tell me.
I guess I'm introducing you after this. Damn. Why? You want to introduce you want to be your own hype man?
No.
You sure? I feel like you do.
Por favor, no.
Everyone turn around and look at Angel's shoes.
I've seen it.
They match their hat.
They do. Wow. Thought about it, y'all.
So I had a homegirl back in LA, and one time we went out dancing, and like I don't know what happened, but anyways we were like out in the parking lot afterwards, like smoking heroin, and then she was like, I was like, so what happened there? And she's like, man, that man, his shoes did not match his shirt. I cannot be associated with that. And we were doing narcotics like in the parking lot. This was our standards. People get really nostalgic for the mid-2000s, I don't. Don't tell anyone else that story.
It's not on video or anything.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
I'll show you that part.
On the day of the innocents, I chilled with my homegirl, the goddess of lust, who is also the eater of filth, waist deep and in the dark, yet the blue still remains above our heads. I taught 100 high schoolers about rape culture and the cycle of abuse as I gradually lost my voice. On the day of the innocents, I looked across the bay at the bridge and the clouds, the islands, and at the gentle, hesitant beauty of the sky, with my cousin Two as we ate a 4-course lunch made by Zen monks. And I had yet another dream with my friend of the smoking mirror, who insists upon showing me myself. On the day of the innocents, I rolled soil and clay and seeds into skulls to be thrown into empty lots, and I painted a banner of marigolds for everyone killed by the state, because seeing leads to remembering, and remembering leads to doing. On the day of the innocents, the rent was due, so I paid it. Y cariño, the price was due. Alright, so everyone. Angel, if you were to ever say that the San Fernando Valley was not LA, Angel would just magically appear out of nowhere. and sucker punch you.
Not wrong.
I only speak the truth. Okay, so this is like this person is like my sibling. Okay, like get on my fucking nerves sometimes, and I love them, but they are such a jewel and such a vector for so much that has happened in Latinx poetry in the United, not even like in California, not even in the Bay, but in the United fucking States. I dare you to find one Latinx poet in this country who has not heard of Angel, and who is not deep homies with Angel, who is not somehow in community with this person, who continuously is so welcoming to folks and so deeply enamored with not just the work, but also the community itself. And people would say, like, there's no real, like, poetry community, blah, 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 blah. But I would be like, no, you don't understand. Because then there's Angel. And, like, Angel is, like, the community. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? There's a reason why I'm a poet, so. Anyways, Angel's the name is everyone.
They aren't glasses, but I hit myself in the face with a rake, so they're broken. It's not a joke. I really did. I stepped on a rake like a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon. Smacked me right in the face. Yes, very sideshow Bob of me. Thank you, homie, for that beautiful, beautiful intro.
I got a list of motherfuckers not in community with me, but that's for
Oh
another
yeah,
time.
okay.
Mira, te digo.
Correction.
No hay tiempo ahorita.
Yeah, there are people that we would fight.
It's a handful.
Yeah.
That's fine. We win. That's okay.
Okay, so I was really excited about reading new work because I feel like I'm at a point with my work where I don't know if I like it anymore. I don't know if I know what I'm doing anymore, and that is scary but also exciting. So I'm going to be reading new work, new poems that not even Eric Science has ever heard. And that's kind of a running joke because Eric would attend so many readings where I was saying, I would always be like, reading brand new work that I've never read out loud before. These words have never touched my lungs. And Eric would be like, "Fool, you read that poem last week." But it's not new. But these are actually new. So this is a fresh one. And I always love the idea of poem titles that run into the poem, and this is the first time I've ever done that. So the title of this poem is If Time is Nonlinear. If time is nonlinear, then I am already in hell, fighting every colonizer, Vaseline on forehead, fists on concrete, rallying infinite comebacks like it ain't nothing. Curb stomping Cortez, right hooks for every Reagan, fighting my own bloodlines, my own ancestors in past lives, catching twice as many fades as I dole out, battered and beaten, but never extinguished. And this is a poem that I've been working on for like years, and there's a pile of drafts, but I kind of enjoy this one. And it's called How to Come Back from a Collapsed Star. First, you must learn all you can about flowers, flowering and becoming. First, you must decide, make up your mind. Will you come back at all? First, you must learn all you can about the birds that visit your ordinary parsec of earth and sky. First, you must learn the names of the various flora and fauna that surround you. Then, you must learn their true names. First, you must study the inertias of the world, learn the secrets of what's under the tinsel of time, eternal plastic, living in everything. First, you must drive yourself to the urgent care and the ER, and your grandfather's funeral. First, you must sprint into the unknown forest, barefoot, in search of that which is most precious to you. You must not panic. First, you must determine all that is holy, you must learn the names of miracles and be thankful for each day. First, you must rescue the child you were from the caverns of the mind's eye. You must venture inwards to save them from what ails you. You must be brave. First, you must learn to not fear bees or any beast. See, you're meant to learn from their living. First, you must reckon with your past lives and their various afterlives. You must calm the ripples of space-time. You must learn to ride the wave. First, you must hear the call of the hawk, the coo of the dove, the brown noise of the road, and the song of running water. First, you must decide who you want to be and why. And then I've got a conglomerate of newish things you may have heard or not. You know when you write a poem and it just gets like more real the longer that it sits there? So this was one of those poems. I had this idea like a year ago where I was like, oh man, I might just fuck around and write a chapbook under this poem title. And the poem title is called Every Day the President Ignores a Sign from God. And I've got like 20 of these now, but this is the one that I keep coming back to. So every day the president ignores a sign from God. The president puts a hand upon the shoulder of God and whispers, "You don't understand. We are the good guys." Every day the president ignores a sign from God. Unwilling to see heaven holds no vacancy for imaginary economy, president insists God should just vote if God really cares about all these things. This is a pretty old poem now. This is like 6 years old, but it's one of my favorites, and I never read this anymore. It's called The Master is Dead and the House is Not Haunted, number 2. Don't want to wear no whiteness, don't want to rep no colony boot, don't want to fuck with disaster, don't want to incur no late fees, don't want to pick a pay or default. The master's dead and disembodied, become more dangerous by book. Book came through globalism with Bible-like basic instructions before leaving Earth. More like, bitch, I better leave Earth. Or English. I'm trying to leave English from its insides. I feel fat in its fabric, the language of four-season funeral. My tongue is a blood-stained codex sitting in the land of my colonizers. So I'm digging a hole to get there. I'm done digging ditches for the master. I'm done digging redacted bars for truth. I'm done digging dystopian tendencies. So now I'm digging to collapse these colonies. I'm digging for the bones of the desaparecidos. I'm digging for the bodies that built these cities. I'm digging for the maids and the nannies. I'm digging for the lavaplatos, los cocineros. I'm digging for the gardeners y los roofers. I'm digging for the migrants and the immigrants. I'm digging for los viejitos, amados y todos hasta que se acaba todo. And this is from a totally different manuscript that's supposed to be the last book in what I've been calling the Elixir trilogy. And it's black lavender, milk, rose, and water. And then this thing. So this is an excerpt from it. The page is the only punching bag I know. I am the only punching bag I know, and I know I can take it. I know I don't have to. I know I can take my time. I am not stronger than the page. I know I am not always in the presence of writing. I know that I am nothing. I know nothing. I know I can take it. I know how to take a punch. I know how to take a decade of punches. I know how to keep coming back. I know my life is just a comeback. I know I am not stronger than what I cultivate. I know I am alive. I know how to roll with the wreckage. I know how to duck a wave. I know how to stay bloody, how to walk away. I'm lying. I take everything personally. I wage constant war against myself and all things, and I know I can't escape me. I know I can't outrun everything. I know that while I am not stronger than this page, I can fortify the page with the blast furnace of my heart, and we will both be stronger for it. I know that I can riptide with the best of them. I know sound and fury. I know how to hurry up. I know how to run towards it. I know how to work the body, streamline the living, how to shape the demons, kick the habits. I know how to be stronger than the struggle, how to build it back. I know how to build with my hands. I know a poem is more than language. I know I am not my bank account. I know I am not all of my yesterdays. I am the sunrise. I am the sunrise. I am the sunrise. I know more than I let myself know. I know I am on my way. I know I can make it. I know I can. I've got to. So who must I fight to be free? What must I fight to be free? Hell, I fight the whole of heaven to let my loved ones live a life of joy and rest and recuperation. I fight every last angel of whiteness to rid ourselves of the curse that is this white supremacy. I do a whole lot more than write poetry. I'll punctuate an enemy, break their lines into palatable narrative, leave my enemies in the past tense, give the future tense back to those who are owed. Let go of this life of blood and music, ache and rage. Let my eyes rest until they are not so sad all the time. So help me out of this mess, because I am going through it. I'm buried under it, but I am feeling something like flowers.
I got just like a couple more. But this is one that I love to read together. And so, you know, in actions and organizing, you don't always have a mic, but you do have each other. And so that's where mic check comes in, right? We are the mic together. We remember that we have one another. And so I'd like to ask all of you to take part in this mic check. So when I say mic check, you say mic check, okay? We good? Okay, so mic check.
Mic check.
Fuck that. Mic check.
Mic check.
Okay, that's better. All right, so we're going to read this poem together, line by line. And before we get started, one more. Mic check.
Mic check.
All right. The last billionaire.
The last billionaire
Died today.
died today.
No one
No one
could hear
could hear
that last breath
that last breath
over the sound
over the sound
of everyone eating.
of everyone eating.
Thank you. I love that poem. May all billionaires die.
Yes.
And I mean that shit from the bottom of my heart, all of them. All right. So I've just got a couple more short ones.
This is called You Have to Save Your Own Life. Blessed by beloveds, I can never be defeated. The trick is staying alive. Presidency in August, and around 3 a.m. this poem came to me, and this is another one of those poems that has just only gotten more resonant, and it's called On Palestine. May Palestine be liberated and remain free. May Palestine continue for 1,000 years. May Palestine be Palestine forevermore. And I really fucking mean that. And if you have the ability to speak out against this ongoing genocide, y'all in the live stream, keep it going. Call your reps, write your people. Genocide will not happen in our fucking name. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I think I'm going to end with that poem because Palestine deserves to be liberated and the racist occupation. And if you don't like that, you can fucking fight me. I'll see you outside. Oh wait, I have to introduce Roque. Hey! Hey yo! Got carried away there, everybody.
You gotta pick it up.
Sorry about that, everybody. Really with it today. So the poet that we're introducing next, you may have heard of Roque Salas, right? We were joking the other day that should Roque ever get kidnapped, we really need to emphasize stress the fact that they are an award-winning poet, right? Really got those awards on them. That will get Roque back from being kidnapped. You know that. No, I think that'll help. It'll help. We stack the awards, we make up the awards, we stack them up. Roque Salas Rivera is the author of works that will change your fucking life. From Lo Teresario to XXX to Under the Bed is Another Country. Everything that this person writes is like the best thing I've ever read, and it would be annoying if we weren't friends, but I do have to say that I feel so lucky to have Roque Salas Rivera not just here in Medicine for Nightmares, not just in my life as a friend, community member, but to be alive at the same time as you producing this work and you throwing your entire heart into everything you do. I'm not kidding when I call you everyone's favorite poet, right? Roque is your favorite poet's favorite poet, I fucking promise you. And his impact, frankly, can't be measured, can't be put into language. The existence of Roque Salas Rivera has already changed the world and continues to. And his next book, which is coming out on the horizon, I've never read anything like it in my life. I've never read anything like it in my life. It's like if Octavia Butler were to write The Odyssey or something. And even then, I could never do justice to what it is because actually, not even the great Octavia Butler could write this. Only Roque Salas Rivera could write something like this, and also self-translated. And it's going to, you're going to see what it's going to do. And to have Roque here tonight, reading from this project, is really special. And I'm just so thankful to call you my family. I'm so thankful to call all the readers tonight my family. Y'all are my familia. And this is the most special reading of the year for me. And I'm going to shut the fuck up. And I'm going to let Roque come up here, rock it. And so everybody, please join me in welcoming the great Roque Salas Rivera.
That introduction only because you're such a wonderful person. But it's literally impossible to live up to like that bio. That's like I'm just gonna read poetry. Is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read from a forthcoming book. It will be out in 2025 with Great Book Press, and it's a trans epic poem. So, as usual, I will be reading Spanish and then English. This is the first canto, so it's just like I'm going to start from the beginning. Senex describe su origen según Ovidio y le ruega a la musa que le abra paso desde el presente para que pueda fielmente narrar las siguientes aventuras. Según la eterna transformación, nací el día que un dios me violó. En su patio, una playa llena de turistas. Fui una carretera desatendida y en un tropel invasor de sombrías y piñacoladas. Tras el robo, Poseidón no fue brusco. De hecho, al quitarme el nombre, Cainis, me ofreció una piel impenetrable, un cascarón endurecido por disculpas. Y le contesté: el reparo por el daño que me infligiste requiere el cumplimiento de un deseo muy grande. Para que yo no tenga que sufrir esto de nuevo, permíteme nunca volver a ser mujer. Hoy quiero ser un hombre. Me quema las ansias de ser aguerrido y audaz capitán peleando en la España febril de Valencia, asido a las filas del bando leal. Las últimas palabras de mi rezo sonaban más profundas que las de su comienzo y parecían salir de la boca de un hombre. Así llegué a ser Ceneo. Un hombre mejorado, un hombre improvisado, un soldado que peleó más duro, más rápido y con menos que los anteriores. Había comido de aquel compuesto de la alquimia que me elevaba por encima de la naturaleza, por encima de todo este estado terrenal, No me tocaban las balas ni las bombas, las espadas y las lanzas ni me rozaban, sin dejar herida alguna. Y así fue. Pues Poseidón ya había sentido y ahora me daba regalos mayores, que fuese inmune a las heridas y que nunca la espada me venciera. Esto leí que era mi Génesis, logrado mediante la coerción sacrificial. Las deidades tenían escribas y bardos que nos pasaban sus canciones hasta que aquellas letras eran nuestras únicas palabras, pues así muere el idioma, con historias que nos memorizamos, pero no recordaba aquella originaria transformación. Mi comienzo no conocía su título de elemental o avenida, solo Cenex, una guarnición erigida en un mapa militar. Caí en cuenta que ahí va a escuchar historias contadas en idiomas que no hablamos, por gente que anda narrando epopeyas a nombre nuestro, pues sí estaba Poseidón, hubo una playa, hubo saqueo de tierra, los turistas sí llegaron y siguen comprando edificios para alquilarnos más allá del límite de la tarjeta, pero no como lo cuenta Ovidio. Todo cuento demasiado heroico no es nuestro. No sostiene hazaña en nuestra historia, porque amamos y morimos en el campo de batalla. Aunque termine la guerra no podemos regresar, no nos esperan las familias que nos olvidaron, y si por alguna razón ganamos, nuestra gloria marchará vestida de pena y caminaremos entre los heridos como si también tuviéramos heridas. Por eso les canto, aunque sea canción común, quienes nos esperan ahora están llegando, y les cuento que nací muerto, morí en vida y vivo en muerte, en las tripas de un recuerdo, convivo con mis 30 amigues sosteniéndonos en apartamentos de renta empinada, no mascotas y no gente local. Les cuento que en una sala sin podar, descongelada la siembra, repartimos los frutos en bandejas de cafetería. Quizás por ser tan comunes, esta narración también es una guerra. No será para nuestros enemigos que narramos un nombre, su insignificancia rosa, que un poeta dijo, daba igual si le decíamos mamey o perejil o atamún, que sea el canto de una ternura férrea contra nuestro exterminio, que llegue a cada baby que está sobreviviendo las purgas, la ciudadanía forzosa, la incorporación condicional, el vaqueo temporero, enaltecide como cara pasquín y luego arrancada cuando se quiebra el cauce. Oh musa, mi lengua pesa porque mi canto es torpe, pese a que canto un banquete de derechos. Alabado el cable preñado de changos, alabado la fila en capri y la cortatelas, alabado los estudios de suelo, alabanza para las manos que hacen casqueta, alabanza para las bocas que maman e izan bichos, alabanza en la playa de Trajimura, alabanza en la sangre positiva, alabanza en el silencio y algarabía. Que estos son los trabajadores que siguen creando un país movedizo. Por la mañana lo canto mientras visto mis 30, beso sus cachetes y preparo sus almuerzos. Luego en los trenes casi rozamos las ropas, de las damas y nos apegamos a los hombres que están seguros de que siempre lo han sido. Estamos a punto de robar las caras barbechas y entregar dones de sus cuentas de ahorros, implacables, rotativos, desarmadores sobre las aguas, sirenas en los cayos, convidándolos a morir y a que se unan a nuestras formas imposibles. En mi vejez joven, celebro que viví. Elegí la esquina donde soltaré mis cosas, el sofá con polilla o la pantalla que no prende, cuando esta piel se canse de cambiar. Pasé la vida vistiéndome para mi sepelio. Y en esa marcha torpe, comí tanta crica, chupé tanta rícola, escuché tanta mierda y fumé tanto pasto, que puedo decir que duré aunque desmemoriado. Recuerdo solo lo que quizás pasó. Cuando Cainis dio paso a Ceneo y finalmente a Cenex, con esta lengua que guías, oh musa, allende la historia oficial, para contar cómo cruzamos las fiebres de diciembre, para enterrar nuestros huesos en carnes nuevas. So I guess the context for this is the opening canto. And I don't know if any of y'all, either forcefully or not, read Ovid's Metamorphoses, but there is one of the Metamorphoses that is the story of Caius and Aeneas. And so basically Poseidon Neptune comes out of the water, sexually assaults Kindness, and then offers a wish to be granted in exchange. And Kindness's wish is to be transformed into a man. And so Kindness, it becomes a warrior, and he fights better than all the other warriors, and at some point they get jealous. They say that the reason why he fights better is because he had been a woman before, and so they kill him. But of course, Senex is not Kindness and is not Kindness. Senex is Senex. So it sort of opens with Senex invoking the muse and saying, I've been told these stories, but I don't see myself in any of them. Senex describes his origin according to Ovid and begs the muse to open a path from the present so he can faithfully narrate the following adventures. According to the eternal transformation, I was born the day I was raped by a god in his backyard, a beach full of tourists. I was a purse unattended, and he was an invading horde of umbrellas and piña coladas. After the theft, Poseidon wasn't rough. In fact, when taking my name, Kindness, he offered me impenetrable skin, a shell hardened with apologies, to which I answered, the injury you've done me requires a great wish to be set right, that I might never suffer this again, allow that I may no longer be a woman. Today I want to be a man. I burn with the desire to be a brave and audacious captain, fighting in Valencia's feverish Spain, bound to the ranks of loyal troops. The words that ended my prayer were deeper than those that began, and seemed as though they could be coming from a man. Thus I became Paeneus, a man improved, a man improvised, a soldier who fought harder, faster, and with less than any who came before. I had eaten that compound of alchemy, which made me above nature, above this earthliness. I could not be hit by bullets and bombs, and swords and spears wounded me not at all. And so it was, for Poseidon had already assented, and now gave me much greater gifts, that I should be impervious to wounds and never fall victim to the sword. This, I read, was my genesis, attained through coerced sacrifice. The gods had scribes and bards who passed down songs until their lyrics seemed the only words we knew, which is how a language fades, with stories we memorize as ours. Still, I remember no originary transformation. Unlike avenues or schools, my beginnings saw no title, only Senex, a garrison erected on a military map. It was then I realized I would hear stories told in languages we didn't speak, by people out there sharing epics on our behalf. For yes, there was Poseidon, there was a beach, there was a pillaging of lands, the tourists did arrive, and do keep buying buildings, renting them out beyond the credit limit on our cards, but not like Ovid tells it. If a tale seems overly heroic, it isn't ours. Because our history can't sustain great feats. Because we love and die in battle, even if the war ends, we can't return. The families that forgot us aren't waiting. And if for whatever reason we win, our glory will march, wearing its sorrow, and we will wander among the wounded as if we ourselves were shy. This I sing, even if it's a common song, because the ones expecting our arrival are still arriving, and I must tell them, just as I tell you, that I was born dead, died in life, and live in death, in the guts of a memory with my 30 friends held together in apartments with steep rent, no pets, and no locals. In a living room unmowed, the harvest defrosted, where we serve up crops on cafeteria trays, and perhaps because we are so common, even telling becomes a kind of war. After all, for whom but our enemies do we narrate a name with its insignificance, a rose some poet said we might as well call Mame or Perejil or even Moon. May this be the canto of unwavering tenderness in the face of our extermination. May it reach every Cid living through purges, being citizened, conditionally incorporated, temporarily backed, held up as a posterette, and then torn down when the riverbed goes bust. Oh, muse, my tongue weighs because my song is clumsy, despite my singing a banquet of ferns. Praise be the wire pregnant tangles, praise be the lighting captain and the cloth cutter, praise be the soil studies, praise be the hands that give hand jobs, praise be the mouths that suck and raise dicks, praise be the beach behind the wall, praise be the positive blood, praise be the algarabia silence, for these are the workers that build a shifting country. I sing this each morning. While I dress my 30 for the day, I kiss their cheeks and make them lunch. Later on trains, we almost raise women's danger, clothes, and stand perilously near men who are sure they've always been. We are about to steal visages fallow and drain gentlemen of funds, implacable, rotative, disarming on the water, sirens on quays, inviting them to die and join us in our impossible forms. And in my elder youth, I celebrate having lived. Already I've picked the curve for shedding when the skin tires and finally settles, along with the moth-eaten couch and the broken screen, and during the mortuary procession, I ate so much pussy, sucked so much Nicola, listened to so much shit, and smoked so much weed that I can claim a full span, even if my memory was shot. Still, I remember enough of what maybe happened. When kindness gave way to kindness and finally Sinex. With this tongue that you, O muse, are guiding beyond official history, so I may tell how we cross December's fevers and bury our bones in new flesh. So I'm going to jump to a brief part in the second canto. So basically, Sinex goes through a lot in the first canto. Poseidon, in addition to being Poseidon, is also a military underwater complex where he's experimented on for a while. And then he ends up living in a suburb of Alderete city, which is very superficially standing for someone, but it's more complicated. And in that suburb, he lives with the Obegones, who are very little family. And the Obegones take him in initially and try to put him in this private school because his kid kind of takes a liking to him. And of course, like, he lasts about 2 days there before he's fought with his friends. And then, it's kind of a whole thing with his teacher. So this is Sinex responding to the teacher in the classroom. Sinex canta hasta romper las ventanas. Me dijeron que fui todo un emprendedor. Los barcos caían en ristra desde mis conductos lagrimales, volcándose por la vía de la tierra. Eran hormigas confundiendo el borde de un acantilado con una pendiente. Colgando apenas, las penas en mi piel de espuma no podían retomar la pereza. Me dijeron que yo era inevitable, desquiciado, una mandíbula rota, derramando, labiendo, que era un tren silueta con una bomba, que decir que yo era el agua era negar que yo era el viento, que decir que yo era el desamor del cielo, los 10 párrafos de Dios texteando encabronado fue calcular mal la presión del río, el impacto de la caída, suicida no, más allá de los límites de la muerte, la máscara roja no, cólera sin acueducto, el gran hedor y todo dolor es una enfermedad. Me inundaron alcantarillas desbordadas, y mi alacena era un armario lleno de dientes blanqueados, un armario de batas de enfermera, pero yo era, dicen, una mujer en el desván de Manderley, una esposa muerta y enferma que sedujo a un hombre bueno para que hiciera unas cosas malas. Mi pecado fue mi muerte, la narrativa que formé en mi estertor, maldiciendo el suelo, filtrando en todos y el que habita una infección que urge extracción del cuerpo estudiantil. Si me dejaban, vendrían más por ahí. Tengan cuidado. Yo había traído una transición. ¿Qué carajo te importa a ti? Es como soy yo. Dicen que lo tomé la cara con mis palabras. ¡Qué violencia! Que hablé con mi cuerpo y los cuerpos que había sido durante generaciones. Mi nombre es Sinex Alderete y no me iré ni me sentaré entre ediciones viejas de libros de historia en algún rincón de mi cuerpo. Sinex sings until he breaks the windows. After it happened, they told me I was in full splendor. Ships trailed from my tear ducts, almost falling off. The earth ants mistaking a cliff edge for a slope hanging up, and sorrows on my foam skin. I couldn't re-sloth, I was inevitable, unhinged, a broken jaw spilling, lapping. They told me I was a silhouette train with a bomb, that to say I was the water was to deny I was the wind, that to claim I was the heartbreak of heaven, God's his 10-paragraph text, was to miscalculate the pressure of the river below, the impact of the fall. Suicidal, no, beyond the bounds of death. The red mask, no, cholera without aqueduct, the great stink and all smells disease. I was flooded by overflowing sewers, and mi alacena was a cupboard full of white new teeth. a closet full of scrubs, but I was, they say, a woman in Manderley's attic, a dead, cancer-ridden wife seducing a good man to commit ill deeds. My sin was my death, the narrative I shaped in my rattle, cursing the ground, seeping into all who inhabit, an infection that needed to be cut out of the student body. If I were to persist, more would surely come. Be warned, I had brought the transition. ¿Qué carajo te importa a ti, como soy yo, They say I took her by the face with my words, the violence of it all, that I bespoke with my body and the bodies I had been for generations. No, my name is Senex Algarabia, and I will not leave. Will not sit among old editions of history books in some corner of myself. This is the last segment I'm going to be reading. And I don't know if y'all have heard of transinvestigators. It's horrible. It's horrible. But we're here, aren't we, in this world, so I don't know how much content I can give this planet. That's all I gotta say for today. No, so there's people who dedicate their lives to like finding all of these, everyone famous you can imagine, and proving that they're secretly trans. So it's a whole thing. What? Yes, and they call themselves transinvestigators. So this is a dialogue with that. And it's part of the third canto. The third canto is a labyrinth. That's a Walgreens. There are more Walgreens in Puerto Rico just for anyone else. So. De Burgos, Julia de Burgos. Oh, yes. In this segment, every single James Bond that has ever existed, exists. James themselves is James Bond. So, Senex goes up and is like, I'm James Bond. It's like Sean Connery. The next one's like, I'm James Bond. It's like every actor is going to play James Bond. Like Barbies, the perception of Barbies is Bonds, right? And they're all very convinced of their own importance and they're convinced of their James Bond. And the only one that introduces himself is not a Bond is Rivera, which is the second.
What are the bonds and princess?
No, you'll see. They're not. They're just there. They're just drinking scotch. They're just there.
Okay.
They're just there into drinking scotch. De Burgos, Julia de Burgos. De la nada una mujer se acercó, que definitivamente no era Julia de Burgos. No me quedaría callado ante esta barbaridad. Tú no eres Julia de Burgos. La he visto y no te pareces nada. La figura lanzó un suspiro. Estás pensando en la escritora. Es cierto, no soy esa Julia de Burgos. Entonces, ¿por qué tienes un nombre? Tengo el mío. Me pusieron un nombre que coincide con una de las poetas más famosas de Algarabía. Pero tus padres tenían que saber que eran iguales. Los Bond, en grupitos, babeaban martini y escocés. Algunos reían, otros presumían de sus conquistas doradas. Mi madre nunca leyó a Julia porque no fue a la escuela. Creció en un culto pentecostal y mi padre creció en la otra isla. Sus padres odiaban a Algarabía. Ese era su apellido, de Burgos. Pero él no sabía nada de poesía. Cuando regresó se enamoró del país y mi madre y se fue de la escuela sin lamento. Entonces me llamaron Julia, sin saber que caminaría por la vida condenada a la sospecha, por robarle un nombre a la historia y al mito. Entonces eres como los Bonds, una espía. Sí, entré a la CIA como secretaria y vieron que mi vida cobró sobre significancia. Se me hacía fácil moverme con mis máscaras. Así que me entrenaron para ser agente. El coro de los Bonds bailaba por el pasillo y automáticamente Julia y yo lo seguimos, mientras confesaba lo libre que se sentía al portar sobrenombres, poder entrar y salir sin que nadie la notara por ser la otra Julia de Burgos, la apócrifa. Y cuéntame, ¿qué es lo que investigas? Entonces vi su otra. Soy una transvestidora. Hace unos años el gobierno se percató de una conspiración. Hollywood es una feria culto científico de escuela intermedia. Para formar parte de la élite de Hollywood tienes que hacerle un sacrificio a la deidad transborder. Y ella te obsequiará la fama. El sacrificio es el dinero de Dios. ¿Me estás diciendo que cada uno de estos bons es trans? Claro. Con la mayoría, si les revela la trampa dentata y les dice que cada celebridad nació del género opuesto y transicionó como un sacrificio por el nudo para ganar la fama, el dinero y el poder, y luego creó la comunidad LGBT666 para continuar el sacrificio sanguíneo y quirúrgico, no te creen, pero el gobierno creó la Serie A para combatir la desinformación de forma entretenida. ¿Alguna vez has pensado que podría ser trans? Eso es imposible. Antes de ser aceptada en el programa, tuve que realizar una prueba de ADN, un examen vaginal completo, el análisis de mi historial vaginoplástico, un control de antecedentes médicos. Pasé por una investigación interna donde mis parejas y familiares cercanos fueron entrevistados, un buen count de modulación vocal, el examen de índice cefálico de Retsius, ajustado para determinar si soy homosísifus o homotransexuales. También tuve que entregar un dossier de fotos de cada etapa de desarrollo, mis expedientes médicos de la niñez, fotos al desnudo, expedientes dentales, medidas de mediámetro promedio, clitoral y peneal, medias de densidad ósea. También combinaron un componente ideológico con un psicomédico especializado que comparó el largo de cada pie con mis contestaciones para asegurarse que estaba comprometida con la neutralidad y el desarrollo de un campo nivelado. La idea era que el poder no debería ser un factor en disuadir la sospecha. También pasé por un programa de entrenamiento de 2 años para realinear mis instalaciones, librándome de toda influencia indebida y compromiso comprometedor. Tengo revisiones bianuales y en cualquier momento pueden decomisionarme y desvivirme si existe cualquier duda sobre el carácter de mis gestos y planicies. Mi supervisora, J.K. Ranchera Alegre, supervisa todas mis tareas y organiza evaluaciones laborales semanales, donde mis compañeros de trabajo ofrecen retroalimentación sobre mi desempeño en materia de género. Esto puede parecer excesivo, pero la idea es que podemos utilizar este sistema como estándar en el futuro. Una combinación de lecturas biométricas de género y toda una vida de documentación histórica confirmarán el cumplimiento de género. Ayudo a desarrollar la rúbrica para identificar trans. Hombres con muñeca delicada, mujeres que le echan el brazo a la pareja o tienen visible la manzanada, un desequilibrio entre hombros y caderas, una mandíbula de agregatas. Son algunas señales, pero son insuficientes. Investigo figuras públicas, mecenas ricos, políticos y determino si son trans con el objetivo de contribuir al conjunto de datos trans. Nuestro objetivo final es crear un programa para identificar personas transgénero que sea accesible, no solo a agencias gubernamentales, sino a patronos, aplicaciones de citas y para asegurar la seguridad nacional. El caso 14 fue uno de nuestros primeros casos. Un conocido transexual que fue despedido, luego recontratado por el Departamento de Estado. Luego tuvimos el caso 62, que nos ofreció evidencia de que prácticamente todos los comunistas activos están retorcidos mental o físicamente de algún modo. Los transexuales son excelentes reclutas comunistas, porque las trans tienen giros mentales particulares. Como agente, mi trabajo es determinar posibles riesgos de lealtad, que podría convertirse en riesgos de seguridad con el tiempo. Espérate, entonces Zendaya es trans. Sí. J-Lo es trans. Sí. Ellen, sí, pero Ellen es una mujer que quiere ser hombre. Pero no dice Ellen que es un género. ¿Qué tal Matthew McConaughey? Definitivamente.
Yeah.
Me sentía un poco escéptico. Quería preguntar más sobre la rúbrica, leer el manual de la Serie A sobre el desmantelamiento de la vida, que reconfigura estándares imposibles para hombres y mujeres inexistentes que nunca se cruzaron, fracasaron, rieron, vinieron, que nunca pasaron por cuidados de afirmación de género, hicieron ejercicio, que eran los vampiros en True Blood, libres de sudor, de luz solar, de necesidad más allá de pensar ocasionalmente en la muerte real. Pero cuánta curiosidad podría explorar antes de convertirme en objeto de estudio. Tengo una carpeta transvestigativa. Si la tienes, si la tuvieras, podría decirte. No sabes parar, ¿verdad? Nos ves por todas partes. ¿Y qué les pasará a los que no cumplen? Pero antes de que me ofreciera una explicación, llegamos a nuestro destino. De Burgos, Julia de Burgos. Out of nowhere, a woman approached who definitely was not Julia de Burgos. At this, I would not remain silent. You are not Julia de Burgos. I know what she looks like, and you are nothing like her. The figure sighed. You're thinking of the writer. It's true. I'm not that Julia de Burgos. Then why did they give you her name? They didn't. They gave me a name that coincides with one of Alderete's most famous poets. But your parents had to know they were the same. The bonds and small groups dribbled over martinis and scotch. Some laughed, others bragged about their golden crowns. My mother never read Julia because she didn't go to school. She grew up in a Pentecostal cult, and my father grew up on the other island. His parents hated Alderete. That was his last name, de Burgos, but he didn't know a thing about poetry. When he came back, he fell in love with the country and my mother, and he left school, no regrets. So they named me Julia, unaware that I would walk through life condemned to suspicion for having stolen a name belonging to history and myth. So you're like the Bonds, a spy? Yes. I entered the CIA as a secretary, and they saw that my life had been oversimplification. It was easy for me to move among people without my masks, so they trained me to be an agent. The Bonds chorus lined down the aisle, and automatically we followed suit, while she confessed how free she felt wearing other names, aliases, so she could enter and exit unnoticed by curious stares just for being the other Julia de Burgos apocryphal. Tell me, Julia, what do you investigate? It was then I saw her other. I am a transvestigator. I transvestigate. See the You know what it's like seeing me watching these videos. Like dead ass. Just saying these things. Okay. See, the government some years back became aware of a conspiracy. By the way, at certain points I quote from actual transvestigators, and I also quote from McCarthy trials. Hollywood is a large-scale middle school science fair cult. In order to become a member of the Hollywood elite, you have to make a sacrifice to the god of transness on debt to garner fame. The sacrifice is your God-given gender. Are you telling me every single one of these bonds is trans? Yes, all. When you expose the gender dentata trap and tell them every celebrity was born the opposite gender and transitioned from a cornered sacrifice for fame, money, and power, and then created the LGBT 666 community to continue to blood sacrifice, most disbelieve, but the government created the CIA to combat misinformation in an entertaining manner. Have you ever thought you might be trans? That's impossible. Before being accepted in the program, I had to take a DNA test, a full vaginal examination, a vaginoplasty, historical analysis, a background medical check. I underwent an internal investigation where my ex-partners and close family were interviewed, a voice modulation, voicecom, the Retzius cephalic index exam, adjusted to determine if I am homocystous or homospensic Salas. I also had to turn in a dossier of photos from each developmental stage, childhood medical records, yearly nudes, dental records, penile measurements, and clitoral diameter averages, body bone density means. There was also an ideological component with a specialized psychophysician who compared the length of each foot with my answers to ensure I was committed to neutrality and the development of a leveled playing field. The idea is that power should not be a deterrent to suspicion. I also underwent a 2-year training program to realign my income fixtures, freeing me of influence and compromising commitments. I have biannual checkups, and at any moment can be decommissioned and put down if enough doubt is cast upon the character of my gestures and plans. My supervisor, J.K. Jolly Rancher, oversees all of my assignments and arranges weekly work evaluations where my coworkers give me feedback on my gender performance. This may seem excessive, but we hope to use the system as a standard in the future, a combination of biometric gender readings and a lifetime of documentation confirming gender compliance. I helped develop the rubric by which we identify trans. Then within risk, women who throw their arms over men's shoulders or have visible Adam's apples, an imbalanced shoulder-to-hip ratio, and can't open their jawline, there are signs. But these alone are insufficient. I investigate public figures, wealthy patrons, politicians, and determine if they are trans with the aim of contributing to the trans data set. Our goal is to create a transgender identification program accessible, not just to government agencies, but to employers, dating apps, and eliminate threats to national security. Case 14 was one of our first cases, a known transsexual who was fired, then rehired by the State Department. Then we had case 62, which offered us evidence that practically every active communist is twisted mentally or physically in some way. Transsexuals are excellent communist recruits because the trans have peculiar mental twists. As an agent, it is my job to determine possible loyalty risks that can become security risks over time. Wait, so Zendaya is trans? Yes. J-Lo is trans. Ellen? Yes, but Ellen is a woman pretending to be a man. But just Ellen say she's a woman. How about Matthew McConaughey? Definitely trans. I was skeptical. A part of me wanted to ask more about the rubric, to read the CIAA manual on dismantling life, reconfiguring impossible standards for non-existent men and women who never crossed, failed, laughed, came, underwent gender-affirming care, or worked out. Vampires in true blood, free of sweat, of daylight, of need, beyond the occasional thoughts of true death. But how much curiosity could I explore before becoming a subject of study? Do I have a transvestigative file? If you did, I couldn't tell you. You can't stop yourself, can you? You see us everywhere. And what will happen to those who don't comply? But before the Lubouiski could explain, we arrived at our destination. Gracias.
Okay, todos, thus concludes the reading. Please buy a minimum of 5 books by walking through the doors. You agreed to this contractual obligation.